If you're serious about history and survival, you'll want to stick with me through this one, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a deep dive like this. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating and often overlooked aspect of civilian life during prolonged conflict: what wartime gardens looked like after 3 years of exhaustion. These were not just green spaces. They were the front line of survival, ingenuity, and sheer determination. Understanding them offers lessons for historians, preppers, and anyone interested in how communities adapted under extreme pressure. The soil tells a story long before the plants do. By the 3rd year of wartime gardening, the soil had often suffered as much as the gardeners themselves. Years of intensive cultivation left the earth depleted of essential nutrients, compacted by repeated hoeing, and often contaminated by nearby bombings or chemical residues. Gardeners had to adapt by layering compost, using kitchen scraps, and even scavenging manure from livestock that were increasingly rare. For preppers today, this is a reminder. Long-term survival gardening isn't just about planting seeds. It's about maintaining soil health. Techniques like crop rotation, green manures, and small-scale composting could have transformed these exhausted plots into productive spaces again. Plants were selected for resilience, not aesthetics. By the 3rd year of wartime exhaustion, gardens were no longer spaces for leisure. They were essential food sources. Blooms and ornamentals were largely replaced with high-calorie staples. Potatoes, carrots, cabbage, and turnips dominated the landscape because they were hardy, reliable, and provided a dense return on labour. Fruit trees, if still alive, were heavily pruned to concentrate the limited energy of the plant into the fruits, not leaves. Wartime gardeners often experimented with intercropping to maximize yields from small plots. Potatoes, under a sparse layer of beans or cabbage leaves, for example, provided a natural shade and preserved moisture in dry periods. For modern enthusiasts, studying these techniques can inform your own small-scale survival gardens, where efficiency and yield matter more than appearance. Signs of struggle were visible across the garden. 3 years in, the visual cues of exhaustion were unmistakable. Leaves were smaller, yellowed or curling, roots were knotted or stunted, and pests had become a persistent challenge as natural predators declined due to environmental stress. Gardeners had to be inventive. Some dug deeper trenches to access richer subsoil. Others used ash from coal or wood fires to improve pH levels and combat fungal infections. Observing these details offers historians insight into the daily problem-solving and resilience of people living under sustained pressure. And for preppers, it emphasizes the importance of monitoring plant health constantly and adjusting your care strategy. Water shortages, really transformed gardening habits. Access to water often became unpredictable or even rationed. By the 3rd year, gardeners adapted by altering planting schedules and choosing drought-tolerant crops. Deep-rooted vegetables thrived where shallow-rooted ones failed, and mulching became absolutely essential to retain precious moisture. Citizens improvised water collection systems, from salvaged barrels to small catchments, demonstrating a kind of resourcefulness that's still relevant for anyone managing a survival plot. Even in small urban spaces today, mimicking these methods, like building a rainwater catchment or using grey water, can, drastically improve resilience in prolonged crises. Innovation turned small plots into lifelines. Vertical gardening appeared in alleys or on walls. Window boxes became extensions of tiny backyards, and household scraps were, well, meticulously repurposed to grow sprouts or microgreens. Wartime gardening wasn't just about growing food. It was about stretching every inch of available land and thinking creatively under pressure. Preppers can take a lesson from this. A productive garden doesn't have to be large if you optimize vertical space, reuse materials wisely, and prioritize high-calorie crops. Community knowledge became essential for survival. By the third year, isolated gardening knowledge was often insufficient. Communities exchanged seeds, techniques, and tips in informal networks. Knowledge about what survived winter, which crops resisted blight, and when to stagger planting became crucial. This collaborative approach not only increased survival chances but also strengthened social bonds. For modern historians and survivalists, studying these networks offers insight into how information dissemination and communal problem-solving can sustain resilience in prolonged crises. Today, even online communities can replicate this survival advantage. Lessons from exhausted wartime gardens are still relevant today. Ultimately, observing what wartime gardens looked like after 3 years of exhaustion teaches a fundamental lesson. Survival is both a science and an art. Soil health, plant selection, water management, and innovation all intersect to determine whether a garden thrives or fails. For preppers, this is not hypothetical. It's a blueprint. Take the practical step of auditing your own plot, rotate crops, enrich soil, experiment with companion planting, and consider water-saving techniques. Even small adjustments can mirror the resilient strategies that sustained families through some of history's most challenging periods. Understanding these gardens brings history to life and provides actionable strategies for modern survivalists. It shows how ordinary people confronted extraordinary challenges with ingenuity and persistence. Every wilted leaf, every patch of soil tells a story of adaptation and resilience that remains relevant for anyone interested in history or prepping today. If you found this dive into wartime gardening valuable, hit subscribe to keep learning about the hidden details of history that actually matter for survival. And share this video with friends who want to see history applied in practical, hands-on ways.